Sanje Juda Soge Junamla, Janju Badu Zane Yasu Shen, Dage Jinso Gibe Sunam, Pola Benjir Sanje Jubara Isho, Sanje Juda Soge Junamla, Janju Badu Zane Yasu, Dage Jinso Gibe Sunam, Dola Benjir Sanje Jubara Isho, Sanje Juda Soge Junamla, Janju Badu Dane Yasu Chen, Dage Jinso Gibe Sunam, Dola Benjir Sanje Jubara Isho. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations to the practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhavam Hetum Tesham Tathagato Yavatat Tesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Swaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhavam Hetum Tesham Dathagato Yavatat Tesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Swaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhavam Hetum Tesham Tathagato Yavatat Tesham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vati Mahashramanaye Swaha. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation causes as well as taught by the Gracia. The Kumbhalakhyans the code. La. Kichuntamdo. Deyatha Om Gade Gade Paragade Parasam Gade Bodhiswatyatha Om Gade Gade Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyatha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyatha. Kumbhalakhyans so 되게 가져가 되겠지만 산이 거기 되게 왜 주지 차트는 중요해. 대성은 주가 찍도 여러 봐. 손은지 여러 봐. 언제시. Okay, so because that two of them are leaving tomorrow, I'm just thinking of the 8-verse mind training. Okay, is there anybody else who is leaving tomorrow? Oh. Okay. Tomorrow what time?
Après la dernière session. Après 90 last session. After the last session.
4:30. Okay. Okay. Because I can learn that at 4:00. Okay. I can learn that some of the Megali and others, they also want to come for the all transmission.
They are staying. They are not leaving.
No, what I'm saying is that if I do it today, then they are not here with us. Yes.
You can do it on the first.
And Sophie, you can get the fan there.
Problem is the mic, and I've tested. We hear.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, we will 3 to 4. To 4. 3 to 4, right? Okay. Okay, we'll recite the hearts of the mantra, the 2 or 3 more times till they come. Deyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisvaha Deyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. Okay, continuation from where we left the last time. Is the special recollection of the kindness of others, and we remember the kindness of all the beings classified into 3 groups: near and dear ones, neutral beings, and the difficult people. And we said that the benefit that we look for is of 3 kinds, comprehensively 3 kinds. 1, immediate but small scale, immediate, large scale, and lasting happiness or lasting benefit. 3. And the first, immediate small scale, is what you get from your near and dear ones, your parents, your husband, wife, children, friends, and so forth. Immediate large scale is what you get from the neutral beings. And the lasting happiness, lasting benefit is what you get from, which means Buddhahood. That is what you get from the difficult people. So this is how we reflect on the benefit of others. This is very powerful. If you can succeed in this practice, then I would say that bodhicitta, you can see that, bodhicitta is very possible. If you succeed in this practice, to see the benefit, to see that I get so much benefit for all the beings. So basically, I don't know how many of you know that perhaps Gombala and the Ajay Sanlab, the Kunsanlab, three of them know me. That so when somebody says, "Oh, everybody's so good, everybody's so nice," so I'm the one who is bad. This is very unrealistic. We should be very realistic. Only when you are very realistic, what is good, good, what is bad, bad. They say difficult person is difficult person. Oh no, everybody is so good. If this is how you, when you encounter with a really nasty person, then you will give up the teaching of the Buddha. Whereas if you know the nasty is nasty, still I get so much benefit from this person because my Buddhahood is dependent on him. Because of him, I could identify my self-centered attitude insight. So if this is how we work, no matter what external, even the external world is against you, still your bodhicitta conviction will be very strong. You will never shake your conviction in the practice of the Dharma. Okay, this is so, in other words, be very realistic. And with this, if you succeed in this practice, then you will get a very strong conviction that bodhicitta is very possible. Then when you think of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, how they went through this practice and how they feel towards us now. So loving, caring. You just think of the Buddha's compassion, you just feel like you would have goosebumps in the body. Not that, oh, Buddha, who loves everybody. No. You practice it, you could feel it, and then you can infer that if you put more effort, then this is how we can feel this towards other beings. So it is so precious. Okay. So the next question would be, the next point is altruism. So here, from this step, special recollection of the kindness of others to the altruism, in between, although it is not explicitly mentioned there in the 9 steps, but in between what is there is the compassion, great compassion and great loving kindness. But it's not explicitly mentioned there because this is what you have to draw. You have to keep in mind that thus far you see that others are so beneficial to me. When you feel that, then naturally the love and affection flows. This love and affection, when you see the suffering nature of the beings, it manifests into compassion. When you see that others are deprived of happiness, it manifests into loving kindness. So with this, the great compassion, loving kindness, you put it in between these 2 steps, and if you make it an explicit step, it becomes 10 steps. But in your practice, you have to include it. So when you feel this, the great compassion and loving kindness, that may all beings be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. You really feel it. In fact, sometimes when I look at, when I was younger, not now, when I was younger, when I look at some very naughty boys or naughty, the mischievous girls, mischievous boys, when I see them, and this person does not deserve any love and affection from anybody. And when you see that, how the mother, how the father still loves the child so much, wow, this is amazing. This is what I should cultivate with all the beings. Once I remember there's one gentleman who was extremely brilliant, and he must be already in his 50s. And he was alcoholic, and so much a problem. And naturally, nobody will love him. And then I went to see his mother, who was already, I think, 80s. And I told her that, your son is a wonderful person. The mother was so happy today. She was hearing somebody talk nicely about her son. She was so happy. There was a glow on her face. So this is when the mother's love. This is how one should be feeling towards the other beings through the practice. And it's possible. It's very possible, provided we go through these steps realistically. Okay, so loving the great compassion and loving kindness, that may you be free from suffering, may you have the happiness. Who will do it? I will do it. That is altruism. So that is altruism. I will take the responsibility that all beings are free from suffering, that all beings are endowed with happiness. How are you going to do it? Next question. How are you going to do it? So if you look at the history of the humanity, we see that 2,500 years ago, there was a Prince Siddhartha. If you look at his biography, we see that, in fact, in this book, there is one verse by the Acharya Dignaga, a 6th century great teacher and master, who said in Tibetan, in English, it is the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit all sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, protector, to you I make restorations. Issue on page. English page 5. English page 5. Verse number 2, which reads, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata and protector, to you I make restorations. So looking at, this is a biography of the Buddha Shakyamuni. This is the real biography of the Buddha Shakyamuni, which the intelligent people, which the noble beings, they read it and they will see a lot of things. It's just 2 lines. They will see a lot of things there. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide. Reliable guide meaning somebody who guides us from samsara to Buddhahood. And that too reliably. And how did he succeed in becoming a reliable guide? I also like to guide all the beings to Buddhahood. But I don't know how to do that. And how come that he become the reliable guide? How? Motivated by altruism to benefit all sentient beings. The basic initial drive was the compassion. Motivated by altruism to benefit all the sentient beings. The desire to liberate all the beings. So what did he do? When moved by the desire to help the other beings, what did he do? Sometimes mothers, when they were in school, they always failed in mathematics. Not all girls. Some girls are brilliant mathematicians, some are brilliant physicists. So, when they become the mother, then they have to teach the children. So they learn mathematics. They become good at it. So, with this love, you are driven to look for the ways and means to help a child. Likewise, when you are motivated by great compassion to benefit all the beings, altruism, then you are driven to look for the solution to help the beings. What's the solution? To teach the wisdom. So, then you learn what you have to teach. You learn the wisdom of emptiness that you have to teach to the beings, that the beings will apply this to become Buddhas. So, the teacher. And once he discovered this, what did he do? So first, like the doctors, or the scientists who discover the medicines, what they do, first they experiment on themselves to see if this antibiotics works. They experiment on themselves. Likewise, Prince Siddhartha, he did the same thing. The wisdom of emptiness that he got, he applied it on himself. He meditated on it to see if it works. Yes, it worked perfectly well. All the first, this ignorance dissolves, because of which inappropriate attention dissolves, because of which the afflictions dissolve, because of contaminated karma is dissolved, because of which all the miseries dissolve. And he could experience the infinite happiness. Sugata. The teacher, the Sugata. The one who is Sugata meaning the one who has gone to the perfect bliss of enlightenment. Having experienced this, then he so courageously go out to teach others, protect others by sharing this wisdom. So that makes him the protector. This is the biography. So looking at this biography, then you are inspired. Okay, how to benefit all the beings, how to lead all the beings from suffering to happiness, how to give them happiness, to the ultimate happiness to the beings. How? By becoming one like him, Prince Siddhartha. So this is how I should follow, by becoming Buddha, that I can benefit all the beings. So step number 9 is bodhicitta. May I become Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings. Okay, so this is how we have to, initially, superficially do it. Although your mind, you feel the knot there, right? You could feel this knot at your heart when you feel that, may I become Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings, or I'll benefit all the beings. I'll remove all your sufferings. When you say that, your mind, inside some way, it says, no, I cannot do that. But verbally say this. As you say this verbally, then your mind builds up the strength, builds it cognitively. It is being, say, like a given shape, and gradually it becomes true. But of course, the earlier steps are the invariably required. Okay. The moment, if you succeed in this practice, that naturally, okay, sometimes some people, when they practice it, the steps then build up the energy. By the time you reach this step 9, bodhicitta, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient, you just feel like crying. It happens, but it is still not the full-fledged bodhicitta. Full-fledged bodhicitta is without having the need to go through the earlier steps. You could just naturally, this feeling comes to you. That is the full-fledged bodhicitta. In other words, innate feeling, innate desire to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. When that comes to you, when that arises in you, then the bodhicitta, that is a full-fledged bodhicitta. At that point, you become a bodhisattva. And when you speak about the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we think of ourselves like in some way up there in the sky, heaven, somewhere Buddhas, Bodhisattvas there, or His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And no, we can become Bodhisattva, each one of us. We put effort, we'll become Bodhisattvas. Okay. And then once you generate this feeling spontaneously or innately, that may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. When you feel that, you become Bodhisattva, and then you follow the first path. Gade, para, samgade, Bodhisattva, first path. You enter the first path. And once having entered the first path, then you have to go through the deeper and deeper path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation. How? On the basis of 6 perfections and 4 perfections, making 10 perfections. So this is what we have to practice. Okay, so this is a basic, the intro on the teaching of compassion. So now we will do the 8 verses of mind training. Okay, it is English, page 35. Eight verses of mind training. So this teaching originally, it was brought to Tibet by Lama Atisha. Then of course, not as 8 verses of mind training. 8 verses of mind training. This is exclusively authored by Lama the Geshe Damdul. But the main teaching, what is known as Lojong teaching, it was disseminated in Tibet by Lama Atisha, Atisha Dibangara Sri Jnana. And through him, then finally, this 8 verse mind training, by Geshe Damdul. And Geshe Damdul is known to be extremely exclusively meditating on bodhicitta, and he is said to be no, you don't really find him reading books or sitting meditation like this. He was just more seen walking here than just take us on stairs, and he would just rest for a while, then cry. Again he would come back. Again he would cry. You would see him more like crying all the time. So actually he was meditating on bodhicitta. And this all his lifelong practice, he put them into what is known as 8 verses of mind training. And I remember very clearly that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, at one point when he was giving this teaching, it really inspired me that his one said that they recite this, reflect on these 8 verses every day. So from that day onwards, I also read it every day and reflect on the meanings. And of course, they find that whatever we do, whatever we experience, these are all from the signature of your past actions. Let me repeat it. Whatever we experience, happiness, sadness, or whatever we do, the tendencies that we have. For example, the tendency to easily feel offended, or tendency to just provoke somebody, or the tendency to offend somebody for no reason, whatever, and the tendency to say emotionally you feel sad very, very quickly, or remain very calm under any situation. These are all determined by one's own action in the past. So therefore, this life is so important for us. It's so important for us to make sure that we build up, say a good system, a system of tendencies, like for example, Dharma practice, to be compassionate, and to make, to have some, the degree of the integrity within yourself. What do you say? You do it. Something like, okay, I'll do this for you. Do it. Don't just say, okay, let me know whatever problem that you have, right? And then when somebody actually comes to, I need your help, or you go to this person, you go to that person. No, if you cannot do, don't promise. So what you can, what is said, yes, I'll help you. Help. Make sure that you are there to help. So in other words, integrity. And then, for example, punctuality. All these things, just see, we try to build these tendencies within us. It's not that, of course, it's very difficult to follow a life of integrity. It's not that easy, but we try our best. This is how we have to take steps. This is how we have to improve. Gade, para gade, which means improvement. We have to keep progressing. That is so important. And in fact, when was that? I think it was in England, 18 years ago, when I was in England the first time, in Cambridge. And I learned this word, vegan, in England. And we are talking about some practices, and they talking about there was one gentleman talking about the refraining from alcohol, and the person said, "Oh yeah, but alcohol, in the West, in England, is so common, so we cannot really, it's very difficult to stop that." And I said, I don't believe what you're saying. This word vegan is what I never heard before in India. I learned it in England. In fact, there are people here who are extremely strict with their diet. No alcohol, no milk, no meat, no garlic, no onion. Very strict. These are here in this country. I said, okay, so this is profoundly what we have to do. And let's not forget what not my digression. So Geshe Damdul, he was just exclusively into meditation on bodhicitta, compassion. And yes, okay, I also share this the thing with you. Yes, I have many teachers. And when I was a student myself, there was one teacher, the immediately preceding His Holiness Kanden Rinpoche, who passed away. At that time he was not the Kanden Rinpoche. He was just a former abbot of Gyudu Tantra College, and I was translating for one of his students, foreign students. And he said, Damdul, he would call me Damdul. Most of my friends, they call me Dorji. And he would call me Damdul, because my name is Dorji Damdul. And said that, Damdul, you have to practice bodhicitta. If you practice bodhicitta, it'll surely, you will surely cultivate it, you will surely generate it. It was so inspiring, extremely inspiring. And then after about like 12 or 14 years in Malaysia, when I reached Malaysia, then my friends and my hosts said that at that time he already promoted to as the Sherpa Chuji, which means the next to His Holiness Kanden Rinpoche. And my friends said that, oh, Sherpa Chuji Rinpoche is here. We will go to have an audience with him. And I was so happy. We went there, and that was after about 14 or 15 years later. And then I made prestations to him. Then I reminded him of what he told me when I was a student, that Dorji, you have to practice bodhicitta. If you practice bodhicitta, you will surely generate it. You will see that it is generated within you. And I reminded him that the Rinpoche, you said this to me when I was a student. And Rinpoche started to cry. It becomes so emotional. He cried. And then, of course, it's so beautiful practice. I could see that the bodhicitta is actually exuding from the Rinpoche's face. A great warmth. And then he just stood there like, he started to just, they cried tears. And then also became emotional. And then all the people around was going in there, something from many past years, and everybody started to cry. Yeah. It's a very beautiful moment. Okay, so this is very beautiful. 8 verses for the training the mind. And so this, the first, before I explain, I'll quickly read through, because that the Venerable Jimbala, he asked me if I can give a little quick transmission, oral transmission of this teaching, because there are some, and I could see that the Magali, Patricia, and the others, they are always there preparing for our food, and then not getting a chance to be here. And the Venerable Jimbala so kindly told me that some of them simply wanted to have the end. The Vanelli, Evelyn, yes, and Evelyn. So usually I don't give any kind of in the form of a dharma discourse. Mine one is more like academic sharing. But here, when Jimbala was so with a great sense of concern when he said that this is what people are expecting, and I could see that yes, some of them like Kumbala, Kusala, they all came from Switzerland just for this purpose, and Ajay Kisala came from UK, and Ben from Israel. Yeah, and Venerable when Ginzala, he told his dad that, hey, somebody's coming, right? And his friends are coming from Israel to meet him. And he's coming to your place, right? Okay. So when I see such the enthusiasm from the people, then sometimes I have to surrender. So usually I'm very tough. I only teach academic, not really as the spiritual discourse. So because of my friends, placing such a trust, confidence, and so forth, coming all the way from far away, and even all of you many of you know me from the last 2 years of coming here, and some of you don't know me. Still, you came here. And so when I see these things, okay, then I have to surrender. Yeah. So first I will do this in the form of the oral transmission. By reading this, and then I'll explain this, and whether I finish or not finish. But after this, actually, the Mahamantra, this is extremely important, and in fact, it has two parts. One is on of course, how to observe your mind, how to see your mind. Then number 2 is how to see the emptiness of the mind. For that, we have to study emptiness separately, and we have to study the mind separately. So I don't want to spend too much time on the 8-verse mind training. Otherwise, the other side, Mahamantra, even to give a very general teaching on the Mahamantra, to give something concrete, it'll take time. So we need more time on this. Okay, so with this in mind, let us quickly reinforce the visualization of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, particularly Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of Compassion, and Manjushri, and the Vajrapani, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Nagarjuna, then the Arideva, the Acharya Chandrakirti, Bodhisattva Shantideva, Deva, Lama Selingba, Lama Tisha, and and your own personal teachers, all of them visualize all the enlightened beings who inspire us into the practice of the bodhicitta. Let us invoke the blessings that each one of us, through a concerted effort, will be able to soon see the dawn of the bodhicitta within us for the benefit of all human ascension beings. And all these enlightened beings are so loving, caring, and embracing. And for the bodhicitta field, visualize your two parents, your children, your husband, wife, and all your family members, all the dear ascension beings, human beings, animals, insects, hungry ghosts, hell beings, God and goddesses, spirits, everyone living on the side around you. And the purpose of this practice is to eradicate the self-centered attitude, and alongside eradicate the self-grasping ignorance and all the mental stains. With this mind, we will again say the refuge in bodhicitta verse together. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations or practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations or practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations or practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Okay, as a transmission, I will quickly read this verse, followed by explanation. 8 verses for training the mind by Geshe Damdul. I will read it. You don't have to read, just listen to this. With the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectful who others is superior. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character, and those oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I discovered a jewel treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander, and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard them still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns, and may I recognize all these things as illusions, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. Okay, the next verse I added from Lama Tsongkhapa's loving dedication to give us the energy. From my 2 collections, vast the space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds, wisdom is blinded by ignorance. Okay, on the 8 verses of mind training, the key is to practice bodhicitta. And to practice bodhicitta, we see that there is the deterrent factors, what blocks you from growing. In the first place, what blocks you from, say, the seeing what bodhicitta is, and then what blocks you from further progress along this practice. And without this bodhicitta, no matter what practices we do, at the most it will take you to personal liberation, but never to the Buddhahood. So the bodhicitta is what we discussed thus far, and I would highly recommend all of us to study them more. The 7 steps, the 7-fold course of method to generate bodhicitta, and the 9 steps, the equalizing exchanging practice to generate bodhicitta. So once you know these, then we should be extremely careful, particularly when we say when we flow with our life. Say you wake up, you meet with your family members, you go out, and within yourself, external factors can come. So how to manage that your bodhicitta is not hampered, your practice is not hampered. So for that matter, the day-to-day life situations can really block you, can really affect you so badly from, first of all, generating bodhicitta, and then whatever cultivation that you have can be impeded, can be stopped, can be slowed down. So these are very dangerous, and to be very honest, there's nothing more precious than the practice of the bodhicitta. With the bodhicitta, everything will come to you. Wisdom of emptiness come to you. Tantra will come to you. Everything will come to you. Without the bodhicitta, then everything has to be done separately. And Tantra, no way, because the ground is bodhicitta. For the wisdom of emptiness, it will take you to the personal liberation. It will not take you to Buddhahood without the bodhicitta. So this is extremely important, and it's for this reason that the Bodhisattva Shantideva, he said that Kanla simge thamba rinchende keba di kula chasishin. Kanla noba chigan dedewa deve chune tele kyapsushi. So this is extremely powerful. So it says that whosoever generates this bodhicitta with an individual, God, the human beings and the gods and goddesses, they'll all come to make prostrations to you. Even if you're a beggar lying on the roadside. But if you generate bodhicitta, all the deities, God and goddesses, the human beings, they will come to prostrate to you. And who is that bodhicitta? Somebody. Even others come to harm you, but the person only wishes happiness for that person, others. This is bodhicitta. So to this bodhicitta, I make prostration. This is what Bodhisattva Shantideva said. Okay, so we should be very careful in the process, say, in day-to-day life. In a day-to-day life, when you particularly encounter with other people, difficult situations, we should be very careful. So how to be mindful that the negative forces don't really hamper the growth of the bodhicitta, your progress of bodhicitta. So what kind of the factors can come to us? So one is the ego. And most of us may not have a manifest ego. Only when somebody tries to insult you, somebody tries to bully you, then you feel that little ego that we have. It can come up. Okay, ego. Then anger. And what can trigger anger? Unconscious factors. When you encounter with these unconscious factors, be very careful, because these unconscious factors can give rise to anger, and the anger can disrupt your bodhicitta. So these are things. And what are situations? Situations which can trigger anger, which can trigger ego. So what kind of situations we meet? When we do meet with such situations, how do we tackle? This is what is being taught here. Okay, so for that we need to keep in mind, I said, the ego and the self-confidence. When we say here, many of the people who read this, and they feel that, oh, this is very self-denial. It makes you so weak. No, it doesn't make you weak. So here, if you feel that reading this, if you practice 8 verses, you'll feel so weak. If you feel that, which means that you cannot distinguish between what is ego and what is self-confidence. Self-confidence, ego, these are not to be mixed. Oftentimes we mix up these two things. We need to have the self-confidence, but not the ego. And how do we know? They say what is ego, what is self-confidence. I don't know what expression is that. Is that coming from English or French or from what? It says that if you want to know the person well, give power in his or her hand. And in some cases, if you want to know the person so well, give money in his hand or her hand. Then see if the person start to exploit again, then become egoistic, inflated with ego, which means the person is very light. The person doesn't have the weight. So whereas wealthier you are, more powerful you are, yet you maintain down to earth, extremely modest. If this is who you are somebody evolved. So how do we demarcate between, say the noble being and an ordinary person? There are so many ways of demarcating that. One way of demarcating noble beings and the ordinary, it is not that, oh, he's a Geshe, he's a Rinpoche, this the noble being. No. We never know where are the noble beings. We never know. Even and noble beings take birth in any place, amongst any race, any caste, any place, or any gender. We never know where the noble beings take birth. So look at some of nowadays through the WhatsApp people send the video clips. So where even some of the countries where the animals are killed like potatoes. Small children who are born there never heard about compassion. But these children, they demonstrate such a intense compassion. They cry to save the animals, to save the birds. You must have seen some of those. They are born in such a family where animals are not living beings. They are like the vegetables. But the small children, where did they learn this compassion from? For sure not from the parents, because they see the parents cutting the animals like potatoes. But they demonstrate such an intense compassion. Where did they learn from? From the past. It's amazing. In other words, noble beings are born in any way. We never know. In any gender form. So with this, how do you demarcate between what is noble being and ordinary being? If you were to ask me, one is that the person, look, oftentimes, do you agree with me? Oftentimes when you say that, oh, this person is very competent. When you say this person is very competent, very self-confident, we don't know whether it's a compliment or whether it's a negative. We don't know. Very self-confident meaning egoistic. We never know. Right? And when you say, oh no, don't worry, that person is extremely nice, so down to earth. Oh, we are looking for a director, CEO of the company who is so down to earth. We can make him. No, he's not competent. So when somebody is so down to earth means no confidence. When somebody very confident means ego also. So where the self-confidence rises, ego rises together, that is weak person. Where the ego subsides, self-confidence also goes down, this is a weak person. Where the ego goes down and self-confidence rises, that is the evolved being. So look at His Holiness. It's amazing. Say, most ordinary person meets with His Holiness. His Holiness will listen to you. He will not dictate on you. He will just listen to you. You feel such a down to earth there. Yet, whether it is whosoever the somebody who is very haughty in nature, when he meets them, they would instantly feel that somehow they feel that they are weak. They could feel that. And look at His Holiness when receiving the Nobel Prize. Say the Nobel Committee was declaring who the Nobel winner is, and His Holiness was sitting there in the audience, and then say announcing His Holiness, and then identifying, pointing to His Holiness's qualities, and then the video, the camera was showing all the people there in the row, including His Holiness. And if you don't know who His Holiness Dalai Lama is, you may think that, he's a simple monk there, and he's not the one who is receiving the Nobel Prize. You will not get a feeling that he's the one who is receiving. He remains so composed, calm, nothing's happening. Whereas, look at say the Wimbledon. When somebody wins the Wimbledon or football, right? People cry, they scream, they become so elated. They cannot contain their emotions. So this is difference, where you maintain so much of calmness, composure, under any situation, always equilibrium, no fluctuation. That is the mark of the success of the nobility and the power of the person. Okay. So here is primarily to crush our ego, not to crush our self-confidence. So this self-confidence should not be crushed. Self-confidence is so important, but the ego is the poison. That is one which destroys us. We have to subdue the ego, and you meet with, in your life, you are bound to meet with various situations where your ego can be hurt. And on the situation, don't take it as negative, take it positively. I'm so glad that I'm able to identify my ego, right? That ego is coming up, and there's a great opportunity that my ego is challenged. This is so important. So let us read these verses. This will help us. Okay, the first. With the determination to achieve the highest aim, for the benefit of all sentient beings, with the determination to achieve the highest aim, which is the Buddhahood, to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings, to attain, we have the seed of perfection within us, seed of Buddha nature within us, to awaken this seed, like the gold mixed with the soil. Gold mixed with the soil. What is the nature of the gold? Nature of the gold is to glow. But when the gold is mixed with the soil, you don't see the gold glowing. So it's exactly the Buddha nature within us. Buddha nature is like a gold. But each one of us, we have it, whether you are male or female, whether you're French or non-French, whether you are believer or non-believer, it doesn't matter. Everybody has this seed of the Buddha nature. That is known as the seed of perfection, where you have the ability to attain the perfection of compassion, perfection of wisdom, and perfection of knowledge. We all have this seed. Everyone has this seed of perfection. But we don't see that, because these are like the gold mixed with the mud. When the gold is mixed with the mud, you don't see the gold glowing. It doesn't mean the gold is not there. Ordinary people may dump it, but the gold experts will not dump it. Gold experts will say, oh, there's a gold there. In fact, I studied all these things many years ago. The conviction that I gained is I studied this, okay, this is what is said in the text. It's everybody is the Buddha nature. I should not despise anybody. But the real conviction came to me when I actually meet people, say, in my class, in a monastery, there was one monk, my classmate, and most of us, we were in the mid-20s. He must be in his 40s already. He must be already in his 40s. And his level of intelligence was really not remarkable. But he struggles. And say the siesta, right? Is it common practice? For some people. So okay, so they in my monastery say the people, for us no time for siesta, because our class, our teacher, my teacher is very strict. He would have the class right at 1 o'clock, the siesta time. So but sometimes when people do get time, they take nap for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and he would never take siesta. And people say, why? During your class you are sleeping, during the meditation you are sleeping, during the debate you are sleeping. Why are you sleep well? You take a nice siesta. He would say, no. If my classmates, they're very young, they take siesta. If I take siesta with them, I'm already down, I'll go down. Right? I somehow struggle. And to my amazement, after about 3 or 4 years later, earlier what he said doesn't make any sense. No logical assertions, nothing there. After a while, what he said sometimes makes a lot of sense. Very intelligible ideas are coming from him. I was so impressed. Okay, this is Buddha nature. Then there was another monk who was junior to junior. Age-wise, I think maybe same. But then he was the 4 or 5 years class-wise junior to me. And of course, again, he was same. But he was not bad as my classmate. And he was extremely punctual to all the debates, discussions. But when he debate is more for us, it's like a waste of time. But what is that? It's not at all intelligible. There's no sharpness there. But he's struggling. After, I think about like 3-4 years, I was really impressed that, wow, what is that? Makes total sense. Answers that he gave makes total sense. The questions that he asked is totally meaningful. Wow, such improvement. Then I started to gain conviction in the presence of Buddha nature in others. And I was also teaching Kumbhala and Kusala, Ajakasala for them, the Tibetan philosophy in Tibetan language. And there was some who it was like pulling them up from the kindergarten level. And deep inside me, it's so tiring mentally, so tiring. But to them, oh, nice. I have to say, nice, you are nice, that's amazing, very good. But deep inside me, I feel so tired. Just pulled it from the beginning up. And some of them already good. But to my amazement, and some of them I know since many years ago, since they were very young. And then suddenly, their philosophy thinking is extremely good, in fact better than many of the older ones. Suddenly, there's a revolution happening. That's amazing. That's the Buddha nature. And we all have the Buddha nature. It's not that some people have, I don't have. No, everyone has this Buddha nature. So with the determination to achieve the highest aim, that to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings, but it's Buddha, the bodhicitta, with the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may hold them dear at all times. So these sentient beings, they are so precious. They are so precious. This is how you start to feel when you see the benefit of the benefit that you get from the 3 kinds of the beings, near and dear ones, neutral beings, and difficult people. then when you see the benefit from them, you feel this extremely close feeling. This is known as, may I hold them dear at all times. So these are the beings I feel so dear. For them I have to do something. What is that? To help them, to give them the fearlessness and infinite happiness. How to do that? By becoming a Buddha, with the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem. May I hold them dear at all times. Okay. Then the next is the factor which can impede your the bodhicitta, which can disrupt your bodhicitta, is the ego. So it says, whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. This doesn't mean that, okay, I'm inferior, you're better. This is not a connotation. Where, say, whenever I interact with someone, only when you interact with other people, then the ego can possibly arise. When you're by yourself, there's no possibility for you to feel the ego. Ego doesn't come. Ego is only when it is in the form of competition with others. I'm superior to you. That ego. So only when you interact with other people, that is the time we should be extremely careful. It says, whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all. It doesn't mean that I'm low, you are higher. There's no condition, but my ego, I will not let this ego arise. I will not let this ego arise. This ego makes me feel that I'm more important than others. I will not let this ego arise. Instead, where the ego comes, I will deliberately try to subdue the ego. If by letting others go first, my ego feels hurt, I'll do it. I want to make the ego combat it, make the ego mitigate it, make the ego disappear. Okay. When I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depth of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior, meaning that all others, they're so precious. They all have the Buddha nature. They're so precious for me. But no means I should see them as inferior. They're so precious. So you regard them as, the sources of benefit, various sources of benefit for you. Respectfully, I hold others as superior. And this is, in a way, this practice, in your life, do you see any of this kind of the people actually behaving the way it is said in stanza 2? Did you see anyone in your life? Did you see anyone they're practicing or behaving, I should say, behaving the way it is said in the verse 2? Yes. Anybody else? Okay. Evelyn, yes? Okay. Anybody who has to share that?
It's the same example we took this morning. A monk, Venerable
Charles.
Yes, always everybody else first, like in every aspect of his life, all the time. Like, even if he's exhausted, even if he's sick, if someone needs, he will be here for him. Even if it's harmful for himself, even for insects, he let insects on his arms for 1 year, and he got very sick because of that.
Very wonderful. Any other examples? Yes.
There's a sister, she's a Christian in France called Sœur Emmanuelle, and she was taking care of the children in Cairo that were very poor, and she's always like, and she has so much strength and energy, she was always for other people first and the children, and she gave all her life for others.
Okay, wonderful. Let me put this question slightly differently. Somebody who is holding a high position, you getting it? Okay, are these people high position holder? My question is, can you imagine somebody who is holding a high position and behaving like what is taught there in the second verse? Yes, Virginia. Did you see that? Yes.
He says, I'm a simple monk, and he always says also when he gives teachings, I don't know much, but maybe, I can see.
Yes, this is an amazing example. Yes. Okay, do you see, or can you imagine the very commonly, huh? Someone who is holding a high position, but behaving like what is taught here in the second verse, huh? There are many examples. Ben?
You can see people that hold very high positions, like the prime ministers and whatever. And when they actually get a child, then they will claim the food.
Exactly, right? Don't think of Buddha Shakyamuni or like this. Somebody's high position, they can behave like this. The parents and the children. We forget our parents. We forget our parents, right? Say the parents, they may be prime ministers, presidents, kings, queens, but when you come to the children, if you are the president or the prime minister of the country, and a common person comes and puts hand on your shoulder, your ego will be affected. But your child puts like this is a very affectionate gesture. You're getting it? So this was what I was so amazed when I was a school child. When I was I must be in class 6 or 7. I must be age 10 or 11. And I saw one boy who was age 6, just school child, and there was a school teacher. During my time in the Tibetan schools, teacher means teacher, children means children, student means student, which means that the students respect to teachers. This was the norm in those days. And one day what I saw was that this small child who was like 6 or 7 years old, not the father or the son, but this small child was leaning his arm on the teacher's shoulder like this. And the teacher was very normal like this. And I was just like 12, 13 years looking at it. I was so amazed. Wow. This teacher doesn't have the ego. That's amazing. I was so impressed. How come that this teacher doesn't have this ego? That this boy can, confidently place his hand on the teacher's shoulder. I was so impressed. So this is what happens to all the big people with their children, small children. Right? They don't have ego. Why they feel this ego coming up when somebody else does it? Why your children does it? You don't feel the ego. There's no ego there. Why? It's all out of love and affection. In other words, the answer is that if you truly cultivate bodhicitta, many of this unnecessary ego will dissolve. The practice of compassion, this is so powerful. Many of the unnecessary ego will just dissolve if you practice bodhicitta, compassion. Okay. But we should be constantly mindful of our own mind, how the mind behaves. When somebody says something offensive, you feel hurt, instantly the ego arises. Okay, certainly, yes, the transmission is done, oral transmission is done, but there's one important thing which I like to share with you. I just don't want to make it flow like this in a very simple explanation. I want to bring the psychology also. How does this ego arise? How the anger arises? We have to know these things through knowing the psychology. This is so important. I'm just explaining. Some of you may be able to. There's nothing new that I can share with you. But what is the psychology behind this? This is so important. We have to know this. The other thing you read, you will understand it. Okay. The psychology of the anger, psychology of the ego, is on the basis of how the mind works. Our mind has so much of functions, as the Virginia said, that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, while there's a tremendous confidence there, but there's a great humility. So you can see this, say the self-confidence and the ego, the disparity is huge. For the ordinary people, these two are same level. When the self-confidence rises up, ego also rises up. When the ego comes down, self-confidence also comes down. Whereas noble beings, the self-confidence rises, ego goes down. This is the indication of the noble being. You can see such a contrast in His Holiness the Dalai Lama, where the self-confidence is just amazing, extremely high, but the ego is nil. So this contrast, but you can see there. So with this, how the mind works. Where the anger arises, anger destroys your bodhicitta. Ego destroys also bodhicitta. Where somebody practices bodhicitta, you could feel it. Even if you don't know what bodhicitta is, even the animals. I don't know about the insects, but for sure the cats, dogs, and other animals, even the other, particularly people who go through a little low, the phase of their life. When these people come close to you who practice compassion, they could feel it. Right away they could feel it. They feel just the ease. They would feel this ease. Okay. So that the okay. So the anger is the one which pushes others away from you. And the bodhicitta is to embrace others. And we are so expert in pushing others away from us since time immemorial till now. Now we have to learn something new, to embrace others with love and affection for your own benefit. But you put so much effort in embracing others with love and affection, practice bodhicitta, attend the classes, Kalachakra teachings, and then the Kalachakra's basic program, right? Yeah, culture basic programs, you attend all these things, and then one moment of anger simply destroys everything, right? So we need to keep in mind how the anger works, and then how to stop it. Only if you know how the anger works, then you would know how to stop it. Okay. So Bodhisattva Shantideva, in his Guide to the Bodhisattva of Life, chapter 6, there's very clearly indicated the subtle psychology there, how the anger arises. So Bodhisattva Shantideva identified the unpleasant feeling as the fuel of anger. Unpleasant feeling. Oh, it's already. Yes. Okay, unpleasant feeling as the fuel of anger, right? So we'll continue tomorrow. Yeah. Because after this, in 18 minutes we have the next session for the New York program. Oh.
With the dedication, can you read the Lojong Sigema in Tibetan?
Lojong Sigema. Okay. Ajala, you will be here for tomorrow? Okay. Ra. Oh, we will do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, remind me. Yeah. Deyata Om Gade Gade Paragate Parasam Gade Bodhiswatyata Om Gade Gade Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyata